Joe, there's some news on the food safety front.
There is. The Food Act came in 2014, but it took quite a while of putting in place everything that's necessary to implement it. So the 1st of March was go live date. There's 85,000 food outlets across New Zealand, 40,000 unique businesses. So quite a few people to get across the line, but it's a much better system now for New Zealand than we've had in the past. And it took 10 years of getting the law across the line.
There were those who were concerned that they wouldn't be able to do hangis or church fairs and things.
Yeah, and fundraising is definitely not at issue. So whilst anyone presenting food for a fundraiser needs to make sure it's safe and suitable for people to eat, at the same time they won't be regulated. We can give guidance if they're asking for guidance, but they won't be regulated. It's all about risk. So a restaurant's going to have much stronger rules, regulations, and they'll need to mitigate the risks than a corner dairy, for instance. So we've got plans and we've got programs, and the risk of your business will mean you will get what's appropriate for your risk.
What's the take-up been like?
Well, in Canterbury, I can tell you there's about 2,700 businesses or food outlets in Canterbury. 1,000 of them, 35%, signed up before the 1st of March. That's fantastic. It just means that they've seen this is coming. There was enough in the way of guidance from Ministry of Primary Industries for them to get on board, so they've done it already.
Let's talk about the church fairs and stalls and farmers markets. Are they going to be hit?
No, they're not. So if you want to sell your jams at the gate or something like that as a one-off fundraiser, no, you're not hit. But if it's your business, then you're definitely involved. But again, it's all about risk. So in the past, we've had a one-size-fits-all. That really meant that we were regulating far too much the things that were not the risk to New Zealand. Now, we all know that food safety, or people get food poisoning from time to time. So we want to put the rules and the regulations where the risk is, rather than across the board, because otherwise they get ignored, not necessarily the right outcome.
So the sausage sizzle is still okay?
Sausage sizzles are great.
Is it fair to suggest that it's sort of like a food safety OSH type situation?
It is, and it's about keeping people safe. So we want the food that not just the food that we consume domestically, but the food, as Food Safety Minister, the food that goes internationally as well. It's all about reputation. And so when New Zealand has an outbreak of any sort of food poisoning happens here in New Zealand, our international customers, they see that too. They see that on social media. So we've got a good reputation, and this law is about maintaining that reputation.
Now, on a personal note, you've made a bit of history as a minister.
The phone call that I got from John Key back in 2013 asking me to be the Associate Minister of Primary Industries was so exciting on a number of fronts, because it was a little bit after that I realised that I am the first woman to ever have a primary industries ministerial role. Actually, at the time, the first thing that occurred to me was, gosh, my dad's going to be proud, which was, really, really cool, because growing up on a farm, it just feels like I've realised a really amazing ambition that I never thought I would.
Of course, the other thing is that you know the industry, having been brought up on a farm.
Yeah, and I know some things about the industry, but I'm learning more every single day. And, times have moved on since I was on a farm in the 80s, to be fair. However, it's an industry where people are really keen to talk about the amazing things that are happening in primary industry. So I really like getting out and about and getting around the traps, meeting farmers, meeting people who are processing our food, meeting people who are exporting our food.
And you are listening.
You've got to listen, otherwise you don't learn.
Now, speaking of such things, there's a lot of stress and drama going on out there. What's it really like? What's really happening?
I think some of the drama comes from the speculation, from the wanting to put a size on how many people are going to be going to their banks and saying, I can't hang in there. So I think that things are as good as they can be, given that it is a stressful time. We know that, for instance, the volatility in the dairy industry is playing into the lives of dairy farmers and making it really tough for them. There are other farmers out there that are finding it really tough too.
Sheep farmers?
Yep, sheep farmers, in some cases grain farmers. But there are also pockets where it's going very, very well. And that's kind of helping the wider economy. And that also means that's helping places like my own electorate here is very based on primary industries. So it's not all doom and gloom. But I think the light on the horizon for me is how amazingly good everybody's been at linking arms to support those that are finding it tough. It's not in the bank's best interest to foreclose on a whole lot of farms. What's that going to do for land prices and for people's debt? It's not in their best interest. So the conversations we've had with the banks have been that they're doing their level best to encourage farmers to make the right decisions to keep them in the business. Now, there'll always be some for whom that's not possible, but I think the amount of support from Rural Support Trusts, from the vets, from the bankers, the accountants, the lawyers, the primary sector businesses has meant that people are feeling supported. It's just really, really important we keep talking to each other and that people talk to their neighbours. We'll get through.